And, okay, let's hope this works. I need my sister.
Like, where's my sister when I need her?
Right. We're live. Hi, this is Dr. Renee, and in case you've never tuned in before, this is the Ask Dr. Renee show. Our show is here to help you to live the life you deserve. So I want to motivate and inspire you any way I can with my wonderful guests and their amazing stories. I want you to live the life you deserve. And my guest today is doing just that and living out probably not even his wildest dreams. But he has a show that is going to premiere tomorrow night, 10 o'clock Eastern Time, 10 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time on ABC. And on your DVR, it may say 2020. That's it. Please tape it. It's called Help, I Need Love. So we are going to talk to Paul Carrick Brunson. If you watched the show before, then you know that this is not his first time on the show. This is his second appearance on the show. But today is really special because we are blowing up social media because everyone has to watch this show. Everyone's got to tune in. So welcome to the show, Paul.
Sis, what's up? Thanks for having me. It's an honor, and I really appreciate you providing me the platform to speak with your audience. So thank you.
No problem. No problem. So first of all, for people that don't know, we got to know how you got to tomorrow. So start off with what made you, because when I was telling somebody about you recently, they were like, he's a man, and he's a matchmaker, and he's straight, and he's black. I was like, yeah. And they were like, oh my God. So how, and I, of course, went through this story. Actually, it was my producer the other day. So yeah, so I went through the story, but please explain how you got to there.
Wow. Well, it all started back in 1933, and I was, it's so hard. That's actually a great question because it forces me to think, well, when did I begin to start building the skills or get the desire to be on TV? And, it probably really goes back to when I was in 6th grade doing improv and drama, but I was an adult. By the time I had graduated from college and had a career in finance, I very quickly, when I became a matchmaker, which that in itself, long story, in order to announce that I was this matchmaker, my wife suggested that I do a video. So I did this video series called The Modern Day Matchmaker that to this day, only like 11 people have seen. It's like very few people have watched this video. Have you seen the video? You've seen at least one or two of the videos.
I think so.
Okay. See, maybe one or two, but very few. But one of the folks who watched the video was none other than Oprah Winfrey. And that was really what indoctrinated me into television. So very quickly after putting up these videos, I got a deal with the Oprah Winfrey Network. I then got a series with Oprah Winfrey that I was co-hosting with her, which that in itself is like beyond my wildest dreams. And as you can imagine, there is that, she's got the kingmaker touch. So the moment that that show was over, all the way through until today, so that's 7 years, every year I've had a TV deal. Now, in those 7 years, I've only had 3 projects hit TV. So what really has happened in those 7 years is I've had a lot of busts, like a lot of pilots that didn't go anywhere, a lot of presentation reels that didn't go anywhere. But that's really what got me to TV. And I'll be honest with you, it really wasn't the Oprah show that made me fall in love with TV. That made me fall in love with the platform of TV. But it was my next show that I currently host, Our World for Black Enterprise, a much smaller production, much smaller budget. We're on fewer stations. But that is the show that really made me fall in love with TV and the possibilities of TV and the impact that TV can make in the lives of so many. So that's kind of how I got to eventually to ABC and to this really awesome opportunity that they've given me.
So first of all, though, you skipped the part of why did you want to become a matchmaker in the first place? Because it's not something that most people wake up and say, I make a whole lot of money doing this, but I think tomorrow I'm going to start a new business and become a matchmaker.
Really? I thought everybody wants to be a matchmaker at some point. No. I mean, I tell you, the quick story there is at that time I had one of the sweetest jobs in the world. I was working for a gentleman by the name of Enver Yücel, who at the time, by the end of my working with him, he was a billionaire. So when I started working with him, he was only worth like a couple $100 million, not much. But by the time I left, he was worth over $1 billion. He's the largest. He owns the largest educational holding company in the Middle East. Universities, K through 12 schools, that kind of thing. Now, I'm Jamaican, and so everybody who is Jamaican or Caribbean or really from Nigerian, like all through Africa, we can't just have one job. It's impossible. It is impossible. A matter of fact, my grandfather would always joke me and say, how many jobs he would be real serious at first. He'd say, how many jobs you have? I was like, Grandpa, like 2, 3. He was like, you lazy. If you only have 2 or 3, you are lazy, boy. He was like, look at me. I'm 87 years old and I had 8 jobs. So working for this incredible, company by day, at night, I ran a nonprofit organization, and we provided test preparation for kids who couldn't afford test preparation. And by the summer of 2008, I was running a summer camp, had 100 kids in the summer camp. Not one of these 100 kids had 2 parents in the household. And that's what led me to matchmaking, because I wanted to see more nuclear families. And that's what eventually got me into the matchmaking space, and then what got me on the TV.
Awesome. So it's a noble reason to want to start matchmaking. And amazing that you found it interesting enough to stick with it, because it's just, I don't know. I don't think I've ever been somebody that tried to put people together even for free, but to do it for paid, I couldn't imagine. But yes, you're right. We got to always have more than one job. So you start matchmaking, and the way that, so I have to tell the story. The way that Paul and I met was my friend Lolly. She and I had lunch, and she was like, there's this guy doing matchmaking on Twitter, and she knew I was single, and I was like, really? On Twitter? And she knew that was kind of my platform. I like Twitter, and so I said, oh, well, I'll go check it out. So I looked and I found him, and I started following him, and one day he said something about Jamaican, and I was like, what? He's West Indian too? So then we became Facebook friends, and then one other random day he said something about Chicago, where's the best pizza? And I sent him a DM, was like, you're in Chicago? We need to meet. And so we met, and my mother, and Paul knows because this is my mother's running thing. My mother, well, what are you going to meet him for? Is he going to match you? I was like, Ma, I don't know. I was like, I'm just going. So we meet, and it was wonderful because Paul was the third person in 1 week that had told me I need to be on TV. And I was like, wow, okay, this is crazy. But we had a great conversation. We found out we were both Virgos, and we just really clicked. And I was like, this is awesome. And so from there, he wrote a book. Actually, he was writing the book when I met him. He wrote a book. We blew up the book. I mean, we had it all over social media. I attended book signings. My sister attended multiple book signings. And just from there, everything he's done, I've supported. He was, on a bunch of talk shows. I would watch, I would tweet. And so that's how we met, and that's how we connected. And later on, I ended up working for Paul. Many people don't know, but I ended up working for Paul, and that was a wonderful experience too. And that's part of my story. I tell people you got to work for free sometimes to end up getting paid. Perfect example. But also just connections and networking, and we, Black and Married with Kids, Lamar and Ronnie is a connection that we have because I used to write for them, and he's really cool with them. But it's just amazing how small the world is getting. But I told my mother, I said, Mom, I know so many people have shows on TV. Like I watch Our World every week. I have it DVR'd, and my mom would watch it sometimes too. And I was like, see, if these people can get a show, I can get a show. And so I was like, I'm in the room. It's just not my term yet, but it's coming. It's coming. But I was so excited when he told me about this ABC thing, because I think you said it. You said like this in 2015, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. And so It was that was a while ago, and so he was like, he was working on it all of 2016. In the midst of working on it, I actually took a visit to LA and was doing some meetings, and I called Paul, was like, help, and so he took time out of his schedule. We talked for an hour, and he got me all set up. So I greatly appreciate it. We'll never forget that. But I am so excited the show finally is finished, and they're actually going to air it. So now what we need everyone to do is to watch, because I'll be very frustrated we only see one episode. So we need to see the entire season.
I'll be frustrated with you.
So how many episodes is it altogether?
Well, we have, we started off shooting 3. We have 2 in the can. Okay. But the whole premise, and you know this because you know TV, is that it's very high risk for networks to put shows on air now. It's actually much different because you know what's interesting? When I got my deal with Oprah, there was no sizzle, there was no pilot. They shot an entire season. They put a season on air.
Okay.
But today, which is only 7 years later, but also because of network, where you spend much more money, it's higher risk. So what networks like to do is they like to drop an episode on air to see, okay, well, what's the reaction, right? What do people think about this? And then, if the reaction is, here's where I'm saying, we're curious with their support, because it's not just about watching. What a network wants to see is if there is serious interest around a show. So how do you convey serious interest? It's watching the entire show, not dropping off at like when there's 10 minutes left. It is tweeting about it. It is putting Facebook messages about it. It's about having host parties. It's about showing that there's a groundswell. That's the only way shows make it now, is if there's a lot of support. Not a little bit of interest, but a lot of support. So right now, there's 1 episode. We've only edited 1, so we only have 1. But if the support is there, you will see many more.
Awesome. So the show, so tell people about the show. I know, but tell people the premise of the show and why they should watch.
Sure. Well, all right, I'll give you 3 quick reasons why I think it's a great show. The first is that there has never in the history of television been a show that has, or should I say a production of a show that's gone this long when it comes to dating and love. Now, why is that important? It's very important because you're going to get the real. You're going to get the raw. Most shows, like maybe you don't know, I mean, you know this, Renee, but maybe a lot of people don't know this, is that most shows, television, reality shows, it takes only 8 weeks to shoot, or maybe 3 months to shoot. That's it. That's the entire production time. So if you're filming a show about love, how many people are falling in love within 8 weeks, or within 6 weeks, or 5 weeks? It's just not happening. So they produce it. They make it look like it's happening. This show was not shot for 8 weeks or 3 months. This show was shot for 12 months. It's the longest look at love ever. So that gave the person that I was working with time not just to date and do all that stuff, but time to get in love with themselves, right? To find that self-love first. So that by itself, the fact that this is raw and authentic and real and not overly produced, that's one reason. The second reason, and by the way, these are not network reasons. These are just like me keeping it 100 with you reasons. The second reason is this is a show for underdogs. I always look at this, and I know ABC would probably not like me saying this, but that's really what this is. Think about this. We are focusing on a single mom. How many shows have you seen on TV that focus on single mothers? You're not seeing it. Secondly is that at least the first 2 women are over the age of 35. Now, how many shows do you see that focus on women who are over the age of 35? Just doesn't happen. I'm hosting the show. You probably can see I am a black male. How many black males do you know who host primetime shows who are not telling jokes or dancing? Now, I'm not shading anyone who tells jokes and dances, because I like to try to tell jokes, but that's not my thing. But what I'm saying here is that the fact that they put me on, and I can't do, I don't have the ability to do those two things. That also makes this an underdog thing. Another thing that makes us underdog, we are like the antithesis of The Bachelor. Like, our show is the complete opposite of The Bachelor, but we're coming on the same network as The Bachelor. Another underdog. Like, this whole thing is about the underdog. So if you are an underdog, or if you root for the underdog, this is a show to get behind. You know, that's kind of the second thing. The third thing I'll say is this. The third thing is, I miss the days where you could sit in front of a TV with your mama and your grandma and your littlest cousin or a nephew or niece and watch a show together and all love it, all laugh together. I don't say we don't have those shows, but it's rare for us to see those shows now, where everybody, multi-generational, can sit in front of a TV, watch it, love it, be able to discuss it. That's what this show is. You could watch this with the youngest person in your family or with the oldest person in your family and still love it. So those are my reasons why I really think that you would get value out of the show.
So so you, first of all, you went on a huge casting call to get these women, and you guys narrowed it down to 3?
Well, for this show, so the show only focuses on one person at a time.
Gotcha.
So really, it's like we narrowed it down to one. So this entire show that you're going to see on Saturday night is just one person, the life of one person.
Okay. So single moms, finding love with your help. I heard that you actually had to go afar with the mom. It's like you left home for a minute, and you're a little ways away.
Yeah, we left. We did. So she's from New York, and the first thing, so this is real. So ABC was like, do what you normally would do, whatever you would normally do, just do it. So I said, okay, if I could, or normally what I would do is, before we start focusing on dating, we focus on self. And then they said, okay, well, on top of that, Paul, here's a big budget where you could do whatever you want. So I said, okay, let's go. So we flew to New Mexico. We spent a whole lot of time in New Mexico. And everything we did in New Mexico, even though it was big budget, network stuff, you could still do these things. And you'll see it. These were basically where she was her husband had tragically been taken away from her. And so she spent the next 7 years giving everything she had to her daughter and everyone around her, but not to herself. So that's the reason why I wanted to get her out of where she was, so that she could relearn how to care for herself and how to love herself. And that's a situation that so many of us, in particular, so many single mothers run into, where they give everything to everyone else and not give to themselves.
This is true. And I mean, not even just single mothers, but women, period. Just everyone's giving, and forget about themselves. So that's pretty awesome that New Mexico, wow. And what you guys don't know, Paul is married with 2 children. So this was a huge commitment on his part and his family's part for him to be away that long and to pull this off. But I know that it's quality. I cannot wait to see it. We haven't even seen a trailer yet. But it's so funny the way that TV works, because I remember it was supposed to air at the end of the year. And I remember I hit you up, I was like, is it coming on? And he's like, no, they haven't said so yet. And then when you announced it, like, was that Sunday? I was like, this week? Wait a minute, May 27th is this week.
Yeah, and that's how I found out too. I mean, that shows you. I mean, everything about this is so underdog. Like, even how I'm talking to you. You know that, so I was supposed to be in New York. So I'm in D.C. I'm in my home in D.C. right now. I was supposed to be in New York doing what they consider to be major press. Like, tomorrow, I was supposed to be Good Morning America. I told them, you know what? I'm not going to do that. Why? Because I think what we are doing is much more effective. To do major press, the issues with major press is that you're talking to someone who most likely doesn't care about you or your project. And then you're talking in quick sound bites. And because that's the way you're doing it, chances are the vast majority of the audience watching, they don't care either. There may be some. You may create some awareness, but they don't care. Instead, I said, you know what? Let me go out to my tribe. Let me go out to people who I share values with, who I have a relationship with. Because chances are, if I like the show, which I do, this is my DNA, I'm proud of the show, then chances are, Renee, you're going to be proud of the show. But then also chances are that everyone who follows you will be proud of the show because we all share the same values. So we get much more, or I think the show gets much more traction with me doing this. So literally, starting about 2 days ago, but it really started last night, I am just doing this. I'm just talking to people who are in my community about the show. I think this is a much, much, much more powerful than jumping on to somebody's national radio show who doesn't even care about the project.
I completely understand. And you're right. The way that the power of social media is ridiculous nowadays. It just blows me away because it's funny because when I first started following Paul, he had just gotten into social media just like I had just gotten into it. So, and just to see how quickly it grew and grew and grew, and people are like, oh, I know who you're talking about. Oh, I know him, So it's funny, but it works. It really does work. And I'm everywhere I see, in my timeline on Instagram, everything I'm seeing, the posts, I'm seeing the hashtag. So the hashtag, everyone, is INeedLove. So make sure you use that hashtag. I got a phone call Wednesday about co-hosting a watch party tomorrow in Chicago. So I was like, oh, of course. I was like, I wanted to do one. I didn't have a venue. You have a venue? Yeah, let's do it. So, and it sold out, of course. So we're still taking names. You can come sit at the bar. Yeah, and since the Cavs won last night, they're going to have every screen in the theater with the show. So if there was a game tonight, they were going to have to play the game. But yay to the Cavs. Most of you know that one of my former guests, Felicia Butterfield-Jones, her husband is a Cav. So congratulations to Dante Jones. But, so we were really happy last night because then we found that out. We're like, now, because there's 8 screens in that theater, and they will all be airing the show tomorrow night. Wow. And then, of course, we're encouraging everyone that attends anybody's watch party, please make sure if you have a DVR, you DVR the show while you're away and watch it again when you get home because the way that Nielsen and all this crazy stuff works, he will still get credit even though you taped it. Do you remember the days? There's a certain amount of days you have to watch it in.
It is. You have to do it within 72 hours.
Yes. So if you DVR it, you need to watch it. Put it this way. Watch it before you go back to work after Memorial Day weekend. Simple as that. Watch the show so that he'll get credit for you watching the show. And then whatever watch party you're at, make sure that you're tweeting and using the hashtag INeedLove and tag ABC Network. ABC Network. That's their tag. That's their ID, their Twitter ID. If you do an Insta story, tag them. Snapchat, tag them. Just ABC Network. Make sure you use that because we want to make sure that they see all of this traction. And I know they can't miss it. So I know they'll see it.
And I'd say everything that you just said is so helpful. The only thing I would add is anyone who's going to be watching, the biggest thing that you can do before you watch is to pick up your phone and just do a quick 60-second, here's the reason why I'm going to be watching Help I Need Love, and to share that with your community. And tag everyone that Renee just said to tag, because what that will do is videos get so much traction now, so much traction. And if you are telling your community why, look at the trickle down, like Renee was saying, how effective social is. Here I am, right? I've been invited onto this platform. So here I am, Renee has a platform, and then here you are, but you have a platform. So you providing that video is going to say, and then that's the trickle down. That's what makes things go viral. So doing that video and posting it is huge. And if you tag me, if you do a 60-second video and it's on Instagram in particular, and you tag me, I will share it. And what's also great is I've seen now executives at ABC liking a lot of the videos that I've been sharing this morning. So that's all part of the positive sentiment. So that would be a huge help as well. Huge help.
And also, I have in the box below this video on YouTube, there is information. It has the tags that we've mentioned. It has his tag, Paul C. Brunson, which is right below his picture right now. And it has the ABC tag. It has the hashtag. So all that information is below. So you can make sure that you get it. And also, if you want to find a watch party, I'm sure you can just search the hashtag on Facebook, and you will figure out if there's a watch party in your town. Like I said, Chicago, we're pretty full at Studio Movie Grill tomorrow night, but we do have a waiting list because we're hoping they'll give us a larger theater because it's been such a large response. So we'll see what happens. But Paul, so first of all, I have to say, so I'm single, and Paul preached for years, and I kept saying he was insane, and I would just ignore him. He preached vulnerability, and I was like, that's such a dumb word. But the man is right. And I just have to tell him that he's right. Like, I learned it. I figured it out and was like, wow. And now I'm telling that to other women, like, you guys, the problem is. And I'm just blown away. But you know what? His book, my sister got the book and told her friends about it. They bought the book. And then Hurricane Sandy happened. My sister was the only person that had power. All of her friends stayed at her house because she only one had power. And they read the book. One of her girlfriends got married the next year. She went on Plenty of Fish her first time. He went on Plenty of Fish his first time. My sister was in the wedding.
Look at that. Look
exactly.
At that.
And what you guys don't know, Paul said it on my show, I think, too. Paul's book is going to be made into a movie as well. True?
Yes. That's true. Very true.
So you guys have to, the book is amazing. You have to check out the book, and just to know his story and then to see it on the big screen is going to be really awesome. But any tips, because I have my Mocha docs that are single, so the other female physicians that are single that are watching today. We have single moms in Chicago. I know that this went out to. I know some other single mom Facebook groups that this went out to. What words of wisdom can you give them on the love tip?
All right. Well, you may think this is corny, like the vulnerability thing, but I'm gonna go back into that area, and I'm gonna say this is that I had a matchmaking agency for 8 years, and I sold the agency last year, but I'm still on the board. And what's really cool now is that I now advise lots of companies, big companies like Match, small dating companies, that are starting. I train matchmakers, so I'm seeing the dating services space from a different perspective now. And here's what I see, the commonality that goes across generations, it goes across culture, it goes across gender, mindset/belief. That's really what it's about, mindset and belief. And when I say what it's about, is the beginning of what it's about. So there are lots of people who will go into a dating situation. I'll use Washington, D.C. as an example. There'll be a person who comes to our agency in D.C. and they'll say, man, D.C. is the worst place to date. It's so transient. There's really not a lot. You can't, you could do much more in New York or in L.A. Even Atlanta's more popping than D.C. Like, they'll come up with all of these reasons why it's the worst place to date. Is there a wonder or a question why their dating life sucks? But then you'll find a similar person, similar demographics in Washington, D.C., and they'll say, you know what? D.C. is the best place to date. There's so many new people. There's so much to do. I actually like that it's kind of quiet because then we can spend more time. Like, they come up with all of the reasons why the cup is half full. That's their belief. And the reason why they're coming is they're like, guess what? I'm coming to the agency because I've got so many people I need help sorting through. I need your help there. Whereas the other person is like, I just can't find anybody. I see this not just happen in D.C., but I see it happen in cities all over the world, across genders, across generations, across cultures. It's about that belief. That's where it begins. I'm not saying that if you could just believe, then all of a sudden you're going to get married. But I'm saying that you have to truly believe, not be in a space where you would like to believe. That's the step prior to belief, but you have to really believe. And to believe, it begins with controlling all of the content that comes into your mind, body, and soul. You got to get it around folks like Dr. Renee, who are inspirational and aspirational, right? You've got to leave the fake reality TV stuff alone. You know, you got to take ratchetness out of your life. A lot of us are like, oh, you know what? I just kind of unwind with ratchet. I'm not ratchet. I just like to unwind with it a little bit. Well, no, that's not how it works. All of that still seeps into your mind. The mind. Your belief becomes your reality. And so that is where I would say you begin. You begin with your belief. And if you have a challenge with believing, even though people may think you believe, but if you have a challenge with truly believing that you are on the pathway to becoming your best self, if you truly don't believe that, that means that you don't love yourself, which a lot of us don't. And that means that you're not caring for yourself as you should. And if you want to change that, if you want to rectify that, then what you have to do is begin with surrounding yourself with inspirational and aspirational content.
You know what? I totally believe you, because when the day that I read and heard of The Secret was, I say, the first day of the rest of my life. And that was Maundy Thursday of 2007. Everyone said, they were calling me and were like, how did you know about The Secret? I didn't know what they were talking about because I hadn't seen Oprah yet. And when they said that, I was like, huh? So then I watched it and I said, oh, you're right. But I only believed it for like 80% of my life. No, like 60% of my life. And the other 40, I didn't believe it. So like my business, I believed it, but personally, I didn't. So when I flipped the script, things changed. And you were absolutely right. And it sounds so corny, but it's so true. And it's so true about everything. You have to really believe it. And if you don't believe it, because if you keep listening to people saying there is no eligible men out there, then that's the belief you'll believe, and you keep on rocking with it. But you have to silence that and have a positive thought. Another thing I always quote you on, I've been encouraging people to online date, and I was like, you know, my friend's a matchmaker, and he said they're geographical, these apps, because some people are like, oh, such and such sucks, and da-da-da. I said, no, that one doesn't do so well in your city, but in other cities it does really well. And they're like, really? And I said, yeah. And so then they tried it, and I said, see? And they're like, oh, you're right. And I said, well, Paul told me that. I didn't know this. I said, now everyone, you have to credit Paul. Paul's the reason my face ended up on Twitter, because I never showed my picture until I met with Paul. I met with Paul like a few days before April Fool's Day. And on April Fool's Day, I put my picture up, and he sent me a message, you changed! So, but yeah, and there's so many couples that have come out of Twitter too, which was another reason why I was like, well, maybe I'll put my picture up. But the other thing that Paul's been doing recently is this health kick. Yeah. Now, I was so disappointed in you when you said you had not been to the doctor in God knows how many years. I was like, what? Educated man with a fabulous wife.
I know. It's terrible.
I couldn't believe it.
Terrible. And I'm going to say this is no excuse, but you know what's interesting? After I posted that, and now that I've been posting about my whole health journey over the last 3 months, do you know how many guys have been messaging me saying, well, I didn't know that at 35 I should be getting my prostate checked, or I didn't know at you know what's interesting? I probably had, no exaggeration, I probably had about 20 guys say, I thought you get your prostate checked at 50 years old. Now, we can't, of course, I'm in a position where I could say, no, of course not. But I didn't know that. And so this whole conversation around health is one that just, at least I'm seeing within my community, doesn't get enough attention. And I'm so proud. Like, my plan wasn't to try to build a brand around being healthy, but it's now a part of my life. I've given up beer. I was drinking Red Stripe all the time. Like, this is painful. I'm on an incredible diet where, and I'll even say this, is that You know what really got me into the health issues? It was me staying busy trying to look like I was healthy. That's really what was happening, right? Because you want to have. I mean, this is like, I'm gonna break it down. Like, guys want to come across muscular. Like, that's our thing. Like, we want to be maybe not overly, but slightly muscular. When you're out at an event, somebody gives you a hug, you want to be tight, right? Guys don't want to be walking. And so I spent 20 years trying or thinking that I was healthy because I could bench press 400 pounds or squat 500 pounds. Like, that's what I thought. But to get there, I had to take synthetic proteins. I had to take supplements like creatine, which is absolutely horrible for you. And after so much consumption of all of that over-the-counter terrible supplements, it damaged a lot of my organs. And so I now am on this incredibly, this powerful health journey where, I'm basically eating vegetables and lots of raw foods, and and now where I suffered from it is I lost 29 pounds. 29 pounds that I didn't want to lose. I didn't want to lose 29 pounds. But the flip side is that I am healthier than I've ever been before. And I'll just say this too, is that I remember my entire life, I grew up thinking that the itis, that was like, that's supposed to happen. You're supposed to eat, feel full, and then get tired. In the last 3 months, I had no itis. I eat and I've got energy popping all day. Like, I'm telling you, this has been the most transformational thing I've ever done in my life, without question.
Wow. So no meat.
No, you know what? Some. One thing about this diet is it's not a never. It's not a never. Will I never do this? So I'll have, but I over-index on food. Wild sardines or I over-index on fish, like wild sardines, wild salmon, that kind of thing. I'll go several days without eating any meat. I'll just eat vegetables. I'll intake protein in other ways. Almonds are great sources of protein. Like, I'm very, very, very proud of my diet. My doctor is the oldest holistic practitioner in the world, and he formerly was a surgeon, and he practiced traditional Western medicine for 30 years, and then for 50 years he's been practicing holistic medicine, and he's incredible, and he's really changed my life.
Wow. Yeah. So I like I said, I was just shocked you had not been to the doctor, but I'm glad that you all are much healthier. Yep. And I was never a big alcohol drinker. So if you guys ever watch Mentor Mondays, was Paul's thing. It was on Spreecast, and he would always ask, "What are you drinking?" And I never could contribute really because I usually was drinking water because I'm just not a big drinker. If I have 5 drinks in a year, then that's a whole lot of drinks for me. So, and I definitely don't do beer. Cider is the closest I get to beer now. And that's my new thing is I'll do cider.
All that yeast. Beer will get you with that yeast.
So, but no, the story I meant to show my mom. The story of when you got the text message about the show during the fast, that was very amazing. Could you share that?
Yeah, absolutely. So it was the first fast I'd ever done in my life. So I was thinking going into it, oh my God, how am I going to go 24 hours without eating? This is crazy. But the first day was kind of rough. The second day, rougher. The third day was ridiculously rough. And then everyone says, at the third day, it becomes cool. No, I woke up the fourth day hungry as a champ, right? The fifth day, it was really, really bad. Now, I wasn't just doing a juice fast. I was also doing not one, but 2 coffee enemas every day, on top of drinking this intestinal cleanser that's really rough going down, and I was drinking 5 of those. I was doing 5 intestinal cleanses a day. So 5 intestinal cleanses a day, 2 coffee enemas, and no food. So I had nothing in my system. I was at the lowest you could be, and I was just, it was impacting me psychologically. It was getting to me, and so I remember it was, an afternoon. I was laying on my bathroom floor naked because I'm getting ready to do this coffee enema, and it's kind of dark outside, and I look out the window, and the cloud starts to part, and the sun comes out, not slow, but the sun is blazing. It's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and it was so bright that I had to turn away and I didn't realize what was happening at the moment. So finish the coffee enema, throw on my clothes, go downstairs, and I'm thinking to myself, man, like, I'm done. I'm so weak. I am empty right now. Within 2 hours of me walking down those stairs, I got a text message from one of the other executive producers at ABC saying, Paul, green light, we're coming to TV. And it didn't take me long to put 1 and 1 together and make 2. And it was interesting because I talked a lot about doing the fast, and I would never say I was doing this for spiritual reasons, because mentally I was doing it for intestinal cleanse reasons. That's the reason why I was doing it. But what I've realized is that just because I didn't have a spiritual purpose, didn't mean that I didn't get a spiritual consequence. And that's exactly what happened. It was one of the most eye-opening experiences in my life, and I'll never ever forget the fast. And I plan to continue to fast. I think I'm going to fast 2 to 3 times each year. Is the plan to fast
for 2 weeks?
I want to continue to increase.
Okay.
Can you continue to push? So I want to get to the 30-day. I know the 30 days is the hardcore to go 30 days. So that's the goal, is to get there.
Wow. Well, I'm sure you are, like you said, you're optimal health now. So that's a great thing. So wrapping up, where do you think your brand will be, or what will you be doing, let's say, in the next 5 years?
I have no idea, but I'll be crushing it. Whatever I'm doing, I'll be crushing it. I mean, here's the thing. What's funny is I've learned now that, God will dream for you a bigger dream than you can ever imagine.
That's what Lady S says.
Yeah. So I'm in the position where I'm just gonna let God keep dreaming, because I like what he's been doing so far. So I'm not going to interrupt that flow. God, you keep doing you, God.
Right.
And I'm going to keep doing what I believe you want me to do. And that's our relationship. I'm doing here on earth, I'm doing what I believe you want me to do. And you are taking care of me and my family. And so, I don't know. Maybe I might be an astronaut in 5 years. I might be back in school getting my PhD in something in 5 years. I mean, I might be, who knows what I'm going to be doing. I will tell you this, Renee, even when we were in Chicago at the Ritz talking, I never would have thought that I would be hosting at that time, even though I was on with Oprah, right? Mm-hmm. Even though I had up, right? I still never would have dreamt that I would be hosting and executive producing a show on a major network. If you told me that, I would have said, nah, probably not. So, I don't know, but I'm looking forward to the journey.
Yeah, I completely understand. Because like I said, I at the beginning, I said, I don't think you even imagined that this would ever be and come to this, a year-long project. That's crazy. And for the fact that you've had TV deals for the last 4 years, that's insane. It's like, who does that, But you got to keep on keeping on. And thank you for all this, excellent content. If you don't watch Our World, you're missing out, because it is really good and very informative. They really do interview some really awesome people. If you read Black Enterprise and you're familiar with the brand, then you know Our World is just an extension of the brand, and they really do talk to some really amazing people, and very interesting stories come up on there. And if you missed out on Lovetown, I'm sorry, because that was very interesting too. It was quite an odd experiment, but very interesting. Do you keep in touch with any of those people?
Yeah. A matter of fact, 2 days ago, I was talking to 3 people from Lovetown who they are putting together a viewing party for tomorrow night for the IBC show.
That is so awesome.
It's incredible. A matter of fact, I will say this too: is one of the little, I say little guys. He's my little brother, named Cameron Johnson from Lovetown. He has become. He's going to be an Oscar-winning actor. He is on all of the big shows. He was on Luke Cage. I mean, this guy he is such an inspiration to me. And it's funny because we text back and forth because my thing is that I keep telling him he's going to win an Oscar, and he's telling me I'm going to win an Emmy. So I said, nah, man, you're going to win the Oscar, but like you got this. But so much talent came from Lovetown. I keep in contact with so many folks, and it was a period. It was a chapter of my life that I'll never ever forget ever.
Another book?
Probably, but but business.
Okay.
But business. There's a lot that I want to talk about on the business front.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I have to publicly thank Paul. One, he had Jay Stone on Mentor Monday. Jay, I was familiar with her from Essence Magazine, but when she was on Mentor Monday, I picked up on so much that day and was like, wait a minute. Well, Jay is now my business coach.
Awesome.
And so our mastermind graduation is actually next month. So I'm really excited. I have a live streaming course that should be launching within the next week or two.
Awesome.
And so I'm really excited about that. My book should be finished by the end of June. Ask me if I started. But that'll be my first of several, I'm sure. But it's all thanks to Paul and Jay, because I told Jay, I said, everyone has given me these things and said I needed to do them. Oh, and the live event is coming too. Jay's working with that too, because Paul said I need to do that as well. But everyone said, this is what you need to do, but I needed somebody to help me to get it done. And I was like, see, I just needed someone to help me put the place. I didn't know how to put everything together. So she has been very instrumental in helping me with that. And so I thank you kindly, because I would have never known Jay if it wasn't for her being on Mentor Monday. And then she ended up coming to Chicago. We met. And so, yeah, that was awesome. So
I love Jay.
Yes.
I love Jay. A matter of fact, you know what? Jay is doing an interview tonight with me for the 24-hour kickoff. So, it's all family. It's all one big community.
Lamar Tyler is too, and Lamar is tomorrow, right?
Yeah. Lamar is going to be right before Jay.
Yeah.
It's all family. All family.
Yeah. So yes, it's very exciting. If you want to follow this amazing social media, somebody said you're running a master class right now, just doing this. And how to get it done, but it'll be amazing because it's gonna be a success. I know it will be. But if you want to follow, make sure you follow the hashtag INeedLove. And somebody said that they've seen a few things. They were talking about LL Song, but most of the hashtag people are us talking about this lovely show. And make sure that
this is the thing, people will jump on a hashtag. We got to fight to keep our hashtag, y'all. Don't let anybody take our hashtag from us. Right. Get on that. Don't let them take it from us.
Exactly. So everyone has to reach out to ABC and let them know that we are watching this show. We are excited about this show. We want to support this show. We want it to come on for the whole season and maybe many seasons to come. Who knows? There's a lot of women out there that need love, and a lot of men too. Because I remember you were looking for single dads, too, when you did the casting.
Absolutely. Yeah. That's the goal. The goal is to have single dads and single moms.
Yes. So, everyone, please support Paul in everything he does. Follow him.
Thank you.
Follow him. He's on everything. You're not on Snapchat, are you?
I'm a lurker on Snapchat.
Okay, that's me. Alicia tells me what to watch. I just am on. Yeah. So, but he's active on Instagram. He's active on Twitter. He's active on Facebook. So follow him in those places. His website, like I said, is paulcbrunson.com. And just if you follow that hashtag this weekend, then you will definitely know what's going on. But we want to make sure that this show comes on for weeks to come. If you notice, there have not been any commercials about this show. So this is really dependent upon us. There's not been not one commercial because I watch ABC a lot. There's not been any commercials. So we really need to support this show.
The only time you're going to see a commercial for this will be tonight after 2020 airs tonight. They're going to run a teaser for tomorrow.
Okay. And
then tomorrow on Good Morning America, they're going to run a teaser. But that might be it. That might be it. So so basically, at the end of the day, when we get this show on for a full season, it's going to be because of us.
Yes.
And that's going to be powerful. That's going to be a very, very powerful story.
That's going to be a huge message to the powers that be that we did this completely grassroots. Like I told somebody, you were doing the Barack Obama.
straight knocking on doors. Right. We're knocking on doors.
Exactly. So everyone, please support. The other great thing this weekend is you guys can get the mantra mug. I have motivational mugs. The mantra mug, Live Life You Deserve, is 20% off this weekend. The promo code is MEMDAY, Memorial Day, MEMDAY. And of course, the website is below in the box too, AskDrReneeStore.info. But everyone wants to drink out of an Ask Dr. Renee mug. I know you do. So everyone knows where to follow me. You know where to find me. If you have any questions about Paul and what he's got going on, because he's extremely busy, you can send them my way and I can try and get you an answer. But please, 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 it's not too late if you want to have a watch party at your house. You can email Paul's assistant and he might even call in to the party and give a little something. I think you're supposed to be sending us a video to post for our party.
Dr. Renee, you know what I was going to say too? I'm sorry, for your party, but once I found out about it being sold out, like you guys really put it on, I want to call in.
Okay.
So if you could just make sure that between Joy and K1 we all connect, because I told them I want to call you all tomorrow. Okay. So let's just make it happen so I can call live.
Okay, sounds good. So, so you guys, Joy, I'm going to put that in the box. Joy at paulcbrunson.com is his assistant. She's the one handling everything. So like I said, if you want to do a party and you want him to call in, then he will do that. He, please post your videos like he said. Make sure you tag everyone. Make sure you do the hashtags. And let's get it done. We're going to get it done. I know we are. Yes. Let's just keep the momentum going. We've been going since 7 a.m. this morning. They've been going. I woke up a couple hours after that. But they've been going since 7 a.m. and we are going to keep it going. My mother has already set her DVR because, of course, you know she's one of your biggest fans.
Tell you what, I truly love her. Like, no, I'm not exaggerating. Like, she's been supporting for years.
Yes.
And that means the world to me. So thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
My mother watched every episode of Lovetown USA. She loves Paul. So, so definitely everyone support. And Paul has another interview in like 4 minutes. So let's get him to his next interview. I forgot who it is because I would have led into them. I think it's Chris, isn't it?
It's Kazi. Yeah, Kazi.
Yes. Chris. Yes. So you guys can follow him. That's going to be on Facebook Live. So that's Kazi, K-A-Z-I, and Roll, R-O-L-L-E is his last name. So look that one up. And let's just keep sharing and supporting. And anytime you see the hashtag, just retweet it. Okay? Don't think about it. Just do. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us. And next month, we'll figure out when we're going to get back on track here, but we've heard some buzz from one of the sharks from Shark Tank, so